Hello everyone, I am Idona John Baptist with the Channel 5 News. In the headlines, climate resilient employment sectors to benefit from financial incentives under the Climate Resilience Execution Agency, extension officers to focus on individual crops rather than agriculture regions under a new strategy for greater efficiency, and the local authorities challenged to incorporate climate resilience into their disaster preparedness plans. The details of the news coming up.
Les moun ki ni TB estene e ben tout se, moun ki en bonne santé oli wen ka respire se vermine la. Moun ki pa ni bon tempérament kon sa ki ni maladie HIV, alcool, ka fume, ti mamay e gwa moun bien sensible pour ces maladies ça là. Moun ki ka tousse ni pou prendre précaution le yo en parmi moun en place publique, couvert bouche ou le ka estene tousse. Visiter docteur e ben place santé yo. Fini tout traitement yo ba ou sa joine guérison et puis maladie TB. En responsabilité ou aider du bout si men maladie TB et HIV, protéger corps et les autres.
M&J Covering is the producer of designed galvanized and galvalume in Dominica. They design to your specifications, color and length, 4 styles of galvanized and galvalume pre-painted roofing sheets as requested, and supply all your galvalume accessories. M&J Covering helps you control spending and reduce waste. At M&J Covering, they are also equipped to build your roof to precise standards anywhere on island. So come to M&J Covering at 1 Mile in Portsmouth or call 445-5001 275-5003 today.
Welcome back. The Climate Resilience Execution Agency of Dominica, CRED, will focus on implementing strategies which will facilitate the speedy resumption of economic activity following a disaster. The Prime Minister's principal advisor says government will consider introducing a package of financial incentives to support climate-resilient employment sectors.
What we said is that it is necessary that a substantial amount of livelihoods would remain intact after a disaster or are waterproofed. We are waterproofing livelihoods. And by waterproofing livelihoods, we mean that long before an event, and as a matter of fact, as a national part, a natural part of development, that we begin to identify resilient employment sectors. And of course, a package of fiscal incentives, right, to support climate resilient sectors. So one of the things you can do when you go back to your communities, when you scout around, identify, any possible business opportunities that are climate resilient and approach the small business unit or other enterprise other unit for support.
Lambert explained that a climate-resilient business would have the ability of continuing its operations online even after a disaster.
And there could be, for example, a sector that provides a virtual supply of products and services. If we are able to keep communication going, right, and transportation is possible, you can order online to various supply houses or businesses. You order online your requirements. You don't have to go and look for transport and so on. Whether it means that those services are delivered by helicopter or by some other means. But we have to work on creating that communication network that can waterproof livelihoods so that people do not suffer unduly and for too long.
Other pillars of CRED include building climate-resilient core networks in communities.
And the resilient core network is one which connects, let us say, 80% of the households in a community to power, water, food, communication, and payment facilities. You remember banking and financial services, were difficult in the first few days after the hurricane. So we are thinking there at the community level, there needs to be a network that connects, right, the community, members of the community, to these services.
Farmers in the East Agriculture region have had an opportunity to meet the new Minister for Agriculture, Food and Fisheries.
The familiarization meeting, which took place in Castle Bruce, provided an opportunity for farmers from Concord to Petit Soufrière to give their input as part of the planning process post-Hurricane Maria. Farmers in that agriculture region depend on hucksters to market their coconuts for the local and export market. The East Agriculture region is well known for its production of cassava, arrowroot, sweet potatoes, yams and ginger. It's also known for the production of poultry, pigs, cattle and mixed vegetables. Farmers in the East say they want to get back to work not just to provide produce for local food security, but for export. The team leader for the East Agriculture region, who is also acting head of extension, highlighted some of the difficulties farmers face coming out of Hurricane Maria.
In terms of destructions, one of the challenges that our farmers are facing, especially the Good Hope, Tranto area, the mills, the cassava farmers, they have lost that, and they have lost their mills, they have lost the housing and the processing of those things. Planting material has become a serious issue in terms of everything, the dashing, the gingers, even cassava sticks, because some people, the hurricane came, they had those cassava sticks, and it's a few, you know, so people need plants. People need plants, you need to multiply. And some people, their coconuts, they are replanting, and we are encouraging you to plant as much as you can.
Still on the agriculture scene, the new Minister for Agriculture is advocating for a new game plan if the agriculture sector is to realize real progress. The minister has reiterated his need to have accurate statistics for a true picture of the contribution that agriculture makes to the economy. He told farmers from the East Agriculture region during a meeting on Wednesday the work of extension officers is critical in that exercise.
We criticize extension officers, and I criticize them too. I don't think we're getting enough service from extension officers. I don't think we're enough, but they have issues also. They have manpower issues, they have transportation issues, they have resource issues. But that is not my problem. My problem is go and deliver to the farmer. If you have problems, talk to the PS, let's see how we can make it happy for you. But you cannot punish this. The farmer must not be punished because you have a problem. Because you've been paid to service the farmer. And you have to service the farmer. If you cannot service the farmer, then let us know you can service the farmer. We'll send somebody else and find something else for you to do.
The minister has acknowledged that there are challenges in being an extension officer. He believes reducing the extension officer workload will make a difference.
So one of the things we're going to try to do is to lighten the burden, but to give them a work, is to have our crops strategically positioned. You see this business about our one man, he have to go and look at tomato, he have to go and look at potato, he have to go and look at scythe, he have to go and look at fig, plantain, coconut, coffee, cocoa. At the end of the day, you're tired. Because the way you have to walk between the dashing and the fig and the amount of work you have to walk, that's why we don't get the information. They're too tired to write what they see. Your job is for dashing, okay? You are my expert on dashing. You need to tell me everything I need to know about dashing. You need to give me all the information about, if it's 2 or 3 or 4, but if we're going to be successful in this new dispensation, in this post-Maria period, we have to try a different technique. If it don't work, we'll try it again. But I think we should try assign men to crops, not to regions.
UWP candidate-elect for Roseau Central, Glenroy Coffey, has made it clear that he will not recklessly oppose the Labour Party administration's policies. Coffey says he will support the Roosevelt-Skerrit-led government when he thinks they are doing work he thinks is commendable.
We know what is the responsibility of government. We will support what is good. We will speak against what is bad, but we'll also give recommendation as to how it can be improved. So it's not to say we're against everything, but we want to see that when the government works, they work in the interest of the people of Roseau and by extension, the people of Dominica.
I've heard a similar chant from the Honorable Joseph Isaac as it relates to approaching this partisan politics in a nationalistic way. Do you think that makes sense?
Well, it makes sense if you can keep to the promise that you've made. You see, if you want to lead people, you must be able to share and exhibit certain characteristics. And two of such characters is that you have to be trustworthy, you have to be honest. So yes, a nationalistic approach to politics is very good. I said, and I will put it on record, that I will not oppose everything. If this government comes with something good, I will support it.
Coffey says he is well placed to be victorious at the polls and to represent the people of Roseau in Parliament.
The preparatory work is ongoing, as I said. It's a work in continuation. I've been around with the people. We are well oiled. We are greased. Our constituency association is at work. We meet on a weekly basis. And I do what I have to do. I interact with the people. In fact, I'm a community man. I am always with the people. And you know what strikes me even more? That I'm associated with a team that is strong. I think it's the most potent political forces on island. That is UWP, Team Dominica. And I feel moved by the motto, people come first. So once it's people I'm serving, I think I'm prepared to do so. And the work is ongoing. And so far it has been very good. The reception is good. The people are receptive, and they are receptive for change.
In other news, the Ministry of Education is taking steps to further train a small pool of counselors within the school system.
A year-long memorandum of understanding was signed with the University of Central Florida to deal with matters related to counseling and the training of counselors. A training workshop for local counselors was held this week, and Associate Professor with the University of Central Florida says her team's visit on island was twofold.
We are here as an immersion experience for the students. In the United States, they work with a diverse population of individuals. Most of our counselors are white females, and a lot of the clients that they work with, whether in schools or communities, are either Hispanic, African American, Black, West Indians. And so I wanted to give them the opportunity to be here to embrace the culture so that they understand what it's like for people who live outside of the United States. We're also here to develop hopefully a partnership with the Ministry of Education to help support their counselors in schools. So really help define the role of a counselor, help the counselors come up with programs to support children and family, hopefully build more of a tighter collaboration between school counseling and social welfare and even the legal system.
The team from the university spent the week visiting different educational institutions and meeting with education officials. Shillingford Butler says the MOU was formulated before Hurricane Maria, but the storm has provided even more reason to train counselors.
We started putting this together since last year, pre-Maria. So the counseling piece for my students started then, but then Maria sort of added to the urgency of building the partnership. So we had to really, before we left, shift our perspective, shift the plan so that we can support the counselors, support the students when we go into the schools. I've seen a lot of resiliency, especially with the children, and that's empowering and that's encouraging for my students to see that, you know, after going through that type of devastation, that people can still rise and still smile and still continue moving forward.
The associate professor says there are plans to review and extend the MOU to continue lending assistance to Dominican counselors.
It took a year to get this plan, so I think the MOU is almost up. So we would have to revise it. It's open to be revised every year. So again, before we leave here, we'll put some plans in place. We would like to do some training sessions. It may have to be virtually via Zoom or Skype for Business or some type of media-like platform like that, but really develop, based on our discussion, different training sessions, even something basically as helping the school counselors understand what their roles are. So I'm hoping that the MOU can be revised to be a little bit more practical to the needs of the island right now.
This is Channel 5 News. Coming up, a warning to farmers before Part 2 of World Bank funds is dispersed. That and more when we return.
Do you need more cash for that home improvement? Then come to Fast Cash, where we give you more. At Fast Cash, our customers get more funds and more time to repay. But wait, can't come to us? We'll come to you, and our mobile officer will get you on your way. Small businesses, consumers, and taxi owners. Fast Cash has more for everyone. Simply call or visit any of our locations for more. Smarter, faster, better. Fast Cash. Terms and conditions apply.
Rudolph Thomas Enterprise in Portsmouth, your suppliers of building materials and hardware products. Over 20 years experience in the business. Rudolph Thomas has lumber and plywood, galvanized and fenced pipe. Check out Rudolph Thomas for ceramic and vinyl floor and wall tiles, nails, nuts and bolts, paint and painting supplies. And check out their line of electrical and hand tools. Go now to Rudolph Thomas on 1240 Bay Street in Portsmouth.
Thanks for staying with us. Minister for Climate Resilience, Disaster Management, Environment and Urban Renewal, Joseph Isaac, has challenged local government councils to start exploring how they would mobilize vulnerable groups in the event of a disaster. At Wednesday's Climate Resilience Consultation for Councils, Isaac asked local government bodies to prepare for government-proposed relief centers.
Your government is on the way with a plan to implement regional relief centers. So each community might not have a large facility, but you'll have a regional center. So the question is, how do you mobilize when there is an announcement on radio a day before, 2 days before, that a storm is approaching Dominica, and we expect it to be a category 2 or category 3, what do we do? How do we engage bus drivers in the village to get and gather the most vulnerable people? How do we plan and organize a food bank for those communities?
The newly appointed minister says communities would need to identify the resources necessary and organize themselves to drive the process at making communities better able to withstand disasters.
I'm again challenging you to consider at the community level developing these disaster management plans. So what we are looking at, you'll have a overall government system, a national disaster management plan, / climate resilience development strategy. All that will be tied with each other. And then, after you have that plan, you need to look at mobilization. How do you mobilize within the communities? The people within the community. So if, for example, you are in the Grand Fork constituency, how do you mobilize Monjon, Rivier Civic, and Grand Fork?
A regional agriculture development organization has been challenged to help get more Dominican youth and women involved in the industry.
The call was made by Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Reginald Thomas, when he addressed AICA's accountability seminar earlier this week.
We have heard the minister articulate in many forums the need to address, or his desire to work with the youth and women. And we, at this juncture, would like to ask of ICA, knowing your experiences and the work that you have done with women and youth, to come on board as a leading partner. We would like you to lead the charge as it relates to addressing the needs of our women and our youth.
Thomas says all stakeholders have a responsibility to get more people involved in agriculture, and if action is not taken soon, it would directly impact the country's food import bill.
Going forward, for agriculture to really grow, we need to change what is actually happening. Our farming population, our farmers are aging, and we're not seeing many youth coming on board. And I think the responsibility is on all of us here. We understand from the point of view of the government of Dominica, there are some interventions that need to be made as well. If we do not do that, in a few years' time, the landscape will be, could be potentially what none of us would like. We may become, and we could become, an important, totally important country with all the land, all the resources that we have.
And farmers have been warned that wise use of monies under the first World Bank program will serve as a precondition for accessing additional funds under the second program.
Last week, government signed an agreement with the World Bank, which is expected to make available to farmers $25 million US or 60 million EC dollars in technical assistance.
Some people will think that they get 10,000 and they spend it, they go Guadeloupe, but you didn't spend it on your farm. You're going to get difficulty getting access to the real set of assistance, which is inputs and technical assistance, okay? Which might even be more than the $10,000. For example, somebody lose their boat. To replace a boat might be like $25,000. To replace a poultry shed, $20,000. So what we're going to get under the second program is significantly more than the $10,000 and the $3,000. So we're really hoping that the people who receive the funds, the $10,000 and the $3,000, if you all notice, when you sign in Aid Bank, at the back of that say that I agree to use the money on my land. I don't know if anybody all read that. Also, none of you all read that. But the back of it had a little fine print, they just call that the fine print. It had that I agree to use the money for development of my land. So we have it as our next condition that to get access to the next set of money, we have to now prove that you use that money on your land.
Farmers from the East Agriculture region have been given the breakdown of how the $25 million from the World Bank will be utilized.
We're going to use around $8 million US for what we call restoring the cropping base and livestock base. How do we restore whatever you had back to what it was? So you had 3 acres of dashing. How do we help you back to get back your 3 acres of dashing? You had 2 acres of vegetables. How do we get you back? How do you get you back? We're talking about the provision of inputs and the provision of technical assistance, and in some cases the provision of materials in terms of sheds, etc. Now, it's also very important to understand we're going to be promoting what we call resilience in terms of we can't put the structures the same way. We already have some designs for the banana sheds and dashing sheds where we have made some modifications to the roofs and have some more hurricane ties. So in other words, the drop shed won't just go as easily. So we're hoping that we can start to promote those new designs, resilient livestock structures, resilient banana sheds, dashing sheds. And we just came from Dalis where we now have to start to think of resilient bay oil distilleries.
The new money under the second World Bank program will not be available to farmers right away.
That money is not going to be available till in another 12 to 18 months. Why? Because World Bank have to go for a number of procedures. First of all, we have to establish the unit that has to implement it. Second of all, we have to determine who are the people we're going to help. So that's why we're hoping within the next week or two we can start to do an assessment to the same farmers who receive the money, using basically the same form that you registered, but a little more details in that form to find out exactly what crops you're growing. Is the area that you're growing the crops suitable? So that yes, you might be growing dashing, but you say no, it's not suitable for dashing, it's suitable for something else. In other words, we don't want you to be wasting your time and your effort. In other words, anything that we recommend you to do is because you can do the best on that land.
Stevenson says this is all part of what will be a new type of agriculture.
To end the news, the headlines again. Climate-resilient employment sectors to benefit from financial incentives under the Climate Resilience Execution Agency. Extension officers to focus on individual crops rather than agriculture regions under a new strategy for greater efficiency, and local authorities challenged to incorporate climate resilience in their disaster preparedness plans. Feel free to contact us at news@marpin2k4.com. You can also access our past newscasts on our YouTube channel. On behalf of the entire production team, I am Idona John Baptist. Thanks for watching. Join us again tomorrow.